Hi, good evening, all of you. Hi, good evening, all of you. Hope you are able to get my voice. Hope you are able to see the screen. Good evening, all of you. Somebody can just put some comment that yes, it's clear. Yeah, thank you. So let us discuss about today's topic. Today we are going to discuss about the value added auditing technique. So why we are going to discuss this? What are the purpose of value added auditing? So that way we are going to discuss today. So before start our session, I welcome all of you for our today's discussion on value added auditing techniques. Let me tell you one thing is that why we need to discuss about the value added auditing, because uh, you know just like we discuss about the good manufacturing practices and then a step ahead current good manufacturing practices. So similar way, the point is when we discuss about the auditing, how we can add in value to our auditing techniques, and that is the way this terminology came into picture. This terminology, you can say, is widely used in financial audits, but now this terminology is now coming up in the pharma domain also. What is the benefit of that? So when we improve our auditing skill with respect to the adding the value to our auditing skills, then it helps a lot with respect to different type of inspection like USFDA, UGMP, WHO, TGA, or UGMP, whatever. So this is the way it helps to clear all the inspections, because it upgrades our existing systems and practices. How? We will go ahead during our discussion. You will come to know. So please bear with me for about a one hour session of the discussion. Second thing, I just want to request you that whatever questions you have, please put your questions in the comment section, so that after completion of this session I will give a separate link. You can access through that link, and then we can have the question and answer separately through the different link. Why I am doing this? Because many people will be interested only in attending this training. They may be not interested in question and answer session. So that is the reason no many people go on leaving this. So what I am going to do, a separate link for this training, and the people who are interested in question and answer and understanding the answers, and further they want to learn from somebody's questions, no problem, they can learn through the different another link which will be solely for the question and answer session. So now with this link you are accessing this training, and thus another link will be there to access the question and answer session. Sorry. Hope it is clear to all of you. Okay, and one more request, that please subscribe this YouTube channel and hit the like button, so that subscription is important, because you will get the notifications of our next learning videos and training sessions. Second thing, if you hit the like button, then of course uh, you know uh, so due to the likes, the YouTube will take it as on a proactive approach, and it will further circulate to all the other companies and all the other concerned people. That is what my purpose, that everyone should be get benefit with this free learning platform. This is absolutely free, so I'm not charging anything else. Only the purpose is to train or upgrade all the people with respect to the different pharmaceutical aspects. So with this, let us start our today's discussion. And with this a short brief, I just want to start with my short CV. Many of you knows me. My name is Nitendra Kumar Shah. I am the CGMP compliance consultant, trainer, and auditor from NADH plus DXP compliance services. I will not go through detail in this, in my CV and all during the training session. It is just a formality, so I am just taking here a fast way. Uh, my main focus with respect to my work profile, also with respect to audit and compliance. I work in many companies, and I was the overall quality control and quality assurance head for more than 13 years. I faced USFDA 7 times and UGMP 8 times, and so many other audits also. I am having expertise with respect to analytical aspects. I am having expertise with respect to the production, as well as I am having expertise with respect to audit and compliance. Even I am having expertise with respect to computerized systems validations and aspect about the computerized system also. During my tenure, I have audited more than 500 vendors or supplier till date and trained more than 5,000 candidates. I am the CQI IRCA certified lead auditor. A short brief about that and my previous profile. So I started my career with Sun Pharma. Then I started my journey in a pharma through different companies, which includes Blue Cross Laboratories, Alembic, Sanofi, US Vitamins, Zydus Cadila, AstraZeneca, and so on. When I was working with the AstraZeneca, Sanofi, I was overall taking care of the audit and compliances. And in Milan, I was in the regional quality role. And now I am an independent CGMP compliance consultant, trainer, and auditor from NADH Plus GXP Compliance Services. This is a short introduction about my profile. And let us start with respect to our discussion. And as this training will get recorded, I just want to put one disclaimer that this whatever training or video is prepared, it is based on some research and some case studies or some information from the different literatures and all. So basically, the purpose of this making the video is for education purpose only. If somebody wants to implement it, please refer the current guideline requirements, please refer the current literatures, please refer the current expectation by the regulatory agencies. But here, I just want to emphasize here that this is training is only based on some survey, and then based on that, it is solely should be considered for the learning purpose. Okay, this is with respect to this disclaimer, and now let us start our actual training session on value added auditing techniques. So, my dear friends, already we had introduction about the trainer. I discussed with you about the trainer profile and all. Overview of the subject also we touch upon about the subject and all. Why we need to discuss this subject and all. So what we are going to discuss further? We are going to discuss about the traditional auditing. So see, during this training session, many people may be auditors, maybe they may be doing the internal audits in their organization, maybe doing the third party or the vendor or supplier audits, or they may be doing some contact testing laboratory audits. So, or some people who are attending this training may be involved in an external manufacturing group and may be involved in quality oversight of some vendors or the companies. So what is the traditional auditing that we will discuss with respect to all these aspects? So please remember, our today's discussion will be focused on will be applicable for all the type of people who is doing third party auditing, who is doing the vendor auditing, who is doing the self inspection or internal auditing, who is doing the contract laboratory auditing, who is involved in the quality oversight of their contract manufacturers or suppliers, everything. So all these peoples, this training is applicable for all these type of peoples. Hope you are getting my point. So we will touch upon how traditionally we used to do the audit. See, I was also an auditor, and now also I am doing the audits. But whatever I learned earlier when I qualified as an auditor, so what are the requirements and how we should do the audits? So these are all traditional ways. So that traditional aspects we will discuss in couple of slides. Then we will discuss how value-added auditing is different from the traditional one. Okay, because what happened now, we need to please understand this concept very clearly, that what is the difference between the traditional approach and the value-added auditing approach. Further, we will discuss about the risk management. So we will consider, risk management is a tool used now also for auditing. But my dear friend, there is a difference in approach of risk management for traditional auditing as well as the value-added auditing. So we will evaluate that also. What is the risk management approach in a traditional auditing and what is the risk management approach in value-added auditing. Further, we will discuss about different aspects about adding value to your existing auditing. How you can add value in your existing auditing practices and procedures and systems. That we will discuss. After that, we will put some examples or cases to trigger the thought process of some auditors that yes, this is the case. at what extent auditors are thinking. That way we will be discussing. And after that, there will be the vote of thanks and contact details. I will share my contact details at the end of the slide. And then I told you that whatever the questions you are having, you please put your comment section box. So what I will do in I will give the next link. The next link is available. You can access that question and answer through the next link, and through that you can interact with me. I will answer your all questions or queries. Okay, this is what the overview about our today's topic on value added auditing, and let us start actual discussion on this topic. Okay, so basically we need to understand what is traditional auditing. Basically what happened, no? Traditional approach is focus on compliance, non-compliance. That's it. Means whether it is complying, yes or no, black, white. That's it. Means example is compliance with respect to customer requirement. Customer might have given some specification, whether it is complying or not complying. You just check it. Specifications or standards, you can compare with the standards given by the customer, and you can just check it whether it is complying or not complying. That is a traditional auditing. Or what is mentioned in the guideline and whether I am complying or not. So statutory and regulatory requirements compliance, we are checking with respect to the traditional auditing. Further, we can see that relevant quality standards, organization procedures, policies, etc. We are evaluating compliance with respect to these internal quality standards or organization procedures or internal procedures with respect to the practices, procedures, and systems. So that is what again you can say the traditional auditing. So this is what everybody will agree with me, correct? I was also doing the same audit earlier when I was doing the audits, and everyone is doing the same thing. There is no new thing with respect to traditional auditing. Clear? Now, what is further lacking in the traditional auditing basically? So let us understand where we need to move ahead apart from the traditional auditing. So when we are doing the audits, with respect to the traditional audits, we are not focusing on effective implementation of the process. So whether any process is implemented, whether it is effectively implemented, we are not focusing on that. Second thing is, we are using the quality risk management tool, but we are not complete using that tool. So we are using this quality risk management tool. Don't worry, this topic again I am going to discuss in a separate slide about quality risk management. But at this moment, please focus on this. What I am telling, now what we are doing, we are utilizing the quality risk management tool, but the point is what? It is not up to the expected level. So there is no effective use of a QRM tool in traditional auditing. Further, we are not considering auditing beyond compliance. What we are doing? We are checking only compliance, non-compliance. But beyond compliance, we are not putting a thought process. So that also we need to put our thought process with respect to the value added auditing. And of course, fourth point, very important, no focus on continuous improvement as per ICH Q10. Hope you are well aware about ICH Q10. If not, then if you want, I can take a separate session on ICH Q10 requirements. Why this is important? Because this ICH Q10 is applicable for pharma as well as non-pharma also. So in ICH Q10, a very important point is continuous improvement. And during auditing, we are not putting our focus with respect to the continuous improvement. So these are some points where we are lacking when we are focusing on traditional auditing. So now my point is, what happens? I don't want to learn value added auditing. Okay, I am not interested in value added auditing. But then what are the drawbacks? What is the problem with the traditional auditing? Basically what happens, if we go on doing this traditional way of auditing, then audit becomes repetitive. It is not having any excitement. It looks like dull or boring type of auditing. For example, just imagine we are doing self-inspection or internal audit continuously. So it becomes boring. So it becomes, just a, you can say the a protocol. Okay, you want to go and do the audit, just a mechanical job. Person will go, fill the checklist and come back. This is the way the audits are happening. But that is what the problem with respect to traditional auditing. But if you think that if you want to go ahead with a value-added auditing, then it will really helpful to upgrade. Second thing, what happened? No, if we are doing some traditional auditing, so what happened? We focus on quality management systems, definitely, right? Even ISO 9001 and all also focus on quality management system. If quality management system is working well, normal, working good, there is no major non-conformance, that's it. So we are not thinking beyond that. That is what in the last slide, earlier slide I was telling, auditing beyond compliance. Please try to understand. See, there is a very clear-cut demarcation between traditional and value-added auditing. So I am just telling you what are the issues with respect to the traditional auditing. So what happened if there is no any non-conformance in the auditing, internal auditing, or if you are doing some quality oversight of your third-party vendors and all. So what happened? Management becomes wondering about value and becomes complacent. Is it really required to do audit? If you are doing the auditing once in a 6 months, why you are wasting time? Why don't you reduce the frequency? So management also begins that thinking about that is it really required? Because it is not adding value basically in our work profile. Same thing happens not only in case of self-inspection or internal auditing, but in case of vendor or supplier auditing or third-party auditing, or you are doing the quality oversight evaluation of vendors or suppliers periodically. So my dear friends, many people are dealing with some contract manufacturers or suppliers, and they are having a procedure that they will visit the site once in a 3 months. Quarterly, they will visit the site to verify whether the manufacturing and testing in line with the requirements and all not. So the point is becomes, so routinely, continuously, these audits are there. So we will touch upon these aspects also during the next discussion. But the point is why it becomes troublesome, or you can say the boring, or you can say it's a repetitive type of audits. It becomes boring. Why? Because there is no much interest in this type of audit. So you have to develop the how you can develop. We are going to discuss here. So the point is, my point is very clear here. Please focus on me. Okay. A separate discussion also is there about if you are going to audit the same plants. For example, if you are going to audit the same plant during self-inspection, self-departments, same company, same department, you are doing self-inspection or internal audit periodically, or you are doing the re-audits of the same vendor or supplier. So they will also come to know, yes, this person, they know the auditor very well. Auditor is well aware about the auditor, and what auditor is going to check, that also they are aware about that. So auditor is well prepared about the audit, and auditor will not get much NCs, and hence no much NCs means no much non-conformity means no scope of improvement. So that is the way this traditional auditing is really becoming somewhat boring or dull type of activity. So my point is, always remember whenever we are working with respect to the auditing, we have to put a focus on value addition. Now, how? This is what exactly presented here. Exactly what? You need to put focus on value added auditing by some below points are there. What are the below points? How you can use formalized risk management a better way, that you need to think of that. Okay, I am just theoretically I am just telling you. Practically again some examples I will take it when it will be more elaborative. Okay, in the next session, in the next slide. Sorry. So please understand only these words. We need to use a formalized risk assessment or risk management tool in a more effective way. We have to put a thought process how we can add value to the auditing. Second thing, how you can do the same audit with different approach. Auditing knows you as an auditor. You are going to do the audits in the same company again and again, but how you can have a different approach. This all I am going to discuss with some examples, but at this moment please remember these notes, remember these points. That is what my intention. Okay, how you can do data integrity auditing. This is again, earlier 10-15 years back, nobody was putting focus on data integrity. Now the focus is data integrity also. So how you can do the data integrity auditing, how you can add value in continuous improvement, how you can add value in continuous improvement means, are you preparing the continuous improvement plan as a result of auditing? That are some aspects about the value added auditing. Hope you are all with me. Okay, again I am requesting you, if you have any questions, please raise your questions, and I will uh, I will share a separate link to access this question and answer session, and through that I will answer your all the questions. After this training I will share the separate link. Okay, so the point is, I told you at the start, right? Hope you remember about the quality risk management, that whatever quality risk management tool we are following for traditional, then what is the new in that? Some points are there, my dear friends. So how we are doing traditional way quality risk management? So I have listed some points. General risk management of audits. How? Risk approach to audit scheduling. So we can schedule the audits where there is a high risk, we schedule it on top priority. Where there is a low risk, then we schedule it on a second priority. So that way, basically, we schedule the audit based on the risk approach. I agree with that. These are all traditional approaches. Okay. Risk approach to conducting an audit. So what is the period, how we should do the things and all. It is a risk-based approach we are doing the audits. Risk approach to the overseas manufacturer. So if any manufacturer is overseas, so how we can do the audits and all. Even nowadays we are doing remote audits also. Anything is missing? Yes. Again, traditionally what we are doing, if suppose there is a critical observation we identified in the audit, so we are performing the risk management. We are evaluating the risk with respect to the product or material we are using or services we are using. We assess the risk, and based on that we study the impact on the earlier batches or the lots we manufactured by using that product or risk. So this is the traditional scope of the quality risk management. So now I just hope everyone is clear with this, right? And I am not so fast, right? I am very speaking very simple language and slowly. But if you have any question, you please put in your question comment section. I will revert back to you. I will again explain that point. Don't worry about that. So this is what the traditional way of auditing. That is what I want to tell you with respect to the risk management. Now, how you can use the quality risk management in a value added auditing. So the scope of quality risk management is something different now here. What is the different scope? Let me explain you, my dear friends. See, whenever we are auditing, think with respect to the product. Product may be the RX, okay, or maybe OTC product, or complementary medicines as per TGA, requirements, or API, sterile or non-sterile, specific risk. It is all mentioned here in the slide. So, what aspects basically we forget of performing the risk management in value-added auditing is, in value-added auditing, suppose you are auditing the, let us take the example that you are auditing the product, general category of the product, correct? So the point is, nowadays you all are aware about that if the product is of general category, nobody is going to manufacture in the facility with respect to the beta lactam, hormone, onco product in the same facility. I also agree with that, correct? So then what you are going to do the audit with respect to the GMP requirements? Only are you going to see the QMS systems? That is okay, that is required. I am not denying that. See, I am not telling that you should not do the traditional auditing, but in addition to the traditional way of auditing, you have to put your thought process and by putting the value addition. How? I will tell you the same example. Now suppose I am auditing the general product manufacturing facility. So what are the type of products, list of products, what is the occupation band, occupation exposure band level, if some products are highly potent among them or OEL level is a very low among this general product. Okay, so category is a general. These product are not beta lactam, these product are not hormone, these product are not you can say the onco product, these products are not a penicillin containing products, general products, general category of the products. But again there are some different OEL level. So is there any product which is having a very low OEL level? If yes, then what are the potential ways or what are the actions company has taken or a site has taken to control the cross contamination of that potent molecule? Because that potent molecule, potent means what? It is having a very low OEL value, okay, or occupation exposure band is somewhat higher. So if you want to learn further about the OEL and all, so there is a separate learning video. You can go through the I button and you can access through that training. So what I am telling you here, if I am auditing the general tablet facility, let us take the example and I will check all the list of the products and I come to know that some one product is having the very low OEL value. So whether first point, this product is considered for a risk cleaning validation as a worst case product or not. Second thing, whether some additional controls the company has taken or not. Third thing, any precautions are there specified in the batch records or the SOPs, that all we have to evaluate during the auditing. This is the way you can just evaluate the potential risk of the product contamination in the other products. This is the way you can do the value added auditing. This is the way you can change your addition. You can, I meant to say, this is the way you can develop your scope of the quality risk management with respect to the value added auditing. Okay, let us take the example. Any other example you can just take it. Potential for quality defects across all types. So let us think, if you are doing the auditing, whether this observation, if this person is following the procedure perfectly, following trained person is trained, so there is no NC, no non-conformance as a traditional approach. But suppose if you are monitoring the operation, but if you think that there is a possibility that if this operation may be due to some error, what type of errors, during if you potentially if you able to evaluate due to these possible errors, it can lead to the defects, then that way you can put the observations in your report that there is a potential of quality defects due to this is lacking in your existing practices. Maybe you may not have some automation, or maybe you may not have some recording mechanism, or maybe you may have some clarity may not be there in the document, whatever. So there is no problem at all at this moment when I am doing the auditing. Please understand the point. When suppose I am auditing one operation, okay, I am monitoring one operation in the audit. operation is perfectly followed, perfectly as per the procedure or batch record. Person is also well aware about the operation. But then I have to identify, evaluate whether there is any potential to lead a quality defect or non-conformance. Suppose there is no, you can say there is no recording, or suppose recording is recording of the some parameters is of frequency is very high. Let us take an example about 1 hour or 2 hours. But that parameter is critical. So is there a potential that it can lead to the defect or it can lead to the non-conformity? Just put your thought process, and this way you can use this quality risk management tool in a value added auditing. So basically the scope of QRM again becomes more wider. Okay, and again I am telling you, these value added auditing techniques you have to use, of course, in addition to the traditional auditing. I am not telling you that you should not do the traditional auditing, but you have to add your value in the traditional auditing. This is what I want to tell you with this slide. Hope you are clear with this, the scope of the QRM with respect to the value added auditing. So let us take another example where you can uh, add more scope of the QRM in a value added auditing techniques. Let us take the example of number of employees. So I have given a lot of points here, but let us touch upon some key points. So number of employees. So let me tell you a very good example. We will come to know many companies know during the introductory presentation, they are very proud to share to the auditors that in the last year our turnover was this much, and in this new year, in this financial year, our turnover is increased by twofold. Very good. Of course, this is very good. I appreciate that. But now, being a this approach, risk. So you have to identify the potential risk behind that with respect to, of course, quality. Correct? So you can just ask them, what is the manpower list 1 year before, total manpower, number of manpower, and what is the total manpower today. Second thing, show me the organogram last year, this year. If suppose there is the same manpower and same manpower, hardly couple of manpowers are increased or even reduced, how practically it will support the quality functioning of all this operation by production going for a twofold. Because whenever company is telling that production is going for twofold, that means what? That means batch size is increased, or new product are introduced, or number of batches are increased. So ultimately what will happen? The analytical load in quality control will increase. New batches come or batch size is increased. So again, the batches will go for stability study and the stability testing load will increase. Number of batches are increased. So the running hours are increased. So accordingly, you need to have the quality oversight procedures or quality checking inspectors also. So whether you are having the same inspectors, QA inspectors, or increased. So you need to evaluate that way and just check the potential risk. This is what I want to tell you here under the quality risk management. Earlier, what we used to do, we used to have the QRM in a very simple way, just to schedule the audits, just to do the audit findings, or just to evaluate the critical observations. We used to follow the QRM. But this way, risk management tool is very important to identify the potential risk in the operation. Hope you are getting my point. I'm just sharing some examples. Please try to understand with respect to this example. Okay? Or let us take the example of complexity. Suppose if you are doing the audit and if you find here this operation very, very complex, very, very complex. How the people are, I understand that during audit, there is no observation, perfectly operation, everything is proper. But if there is a complex operation, you can evaluate whether there is a potential risk with respect to the non-conformity or not. Potential risk means what? Today you are doing auditing. You are not going to audit on daily basis. So you have to evaluate overall compliance level. So my point is, if today it is complying the requirement, it should comply the requirement in future also. So you can evaluate a long term. You can just put a thought that operation is very complex. Is there any automation is required? That way you can just think of that. Hope you are getting my point. Okay. If you have any questions, again I am requesting you to please put in the comment section. I will revert back to you. But I just want to clear here the QRM focus or QRM scope with respect to the traditional auditing and the value added auditing. Hope you are getting my point, right? So let us understanding about this is what you hope you got the clarity about the QRM scope of both the type of audits. Now let us discuss about how we can add value in the existing auditing. How we can add value. So you can check the CAPA effectiveness when you are doing the audits. So you can check the CAPA effectiveness. Then there are a lot of aspects are there with respect to CAPA effectiveness. You can do the during audits, you can check it, you can check the trend, lot of things are there. So the point is, when you are auditing, you don't identify the non-conformance, compliance, non-compliance. No, you just see whether CAPA is effective or not. You can just put a focus if people are really aware that why they are doing. If they have implemented some CAPA, whether the people who are following that CAPA, they are aware about that, why they are following this. That is the way you can put your focus. So the point is, CAPA effectiveness check you can perform in your value added auditing techniques. Second, evaluate whether CAPA needs a CAPA. Evaluate whether CAPA needs a CAPA. Let me give an example so that you will come to know. Simple example. In one of the company, they were having lot of complaints about the empty pockets. Empty pockets. So the pockets were not completely filled and they got the so many complaints. About 15 to 20 complaints they received for so many number of batches. So of course investigation done, everything is done, CAPA initiated, CAPA implemented. Perfect. I agree with that. Okay. When that company was audited, and when the packing machine was audited or inspected, we need to really evaluate whether the CAPA, whatever is given or suggested, is enough or additional CAPA need to be taken. That also we need to put our thought process. So that is what I always tell you, that evaluate whether CAPA needs a CAPA. Corrective and preventive actions needs a again additional corrective and preventive actions. That is the way I normally put a focus. Second thing, check for training effectiveness. This is very important. What you can do, whatever you can just see the last training given, specifically the major training with respect to the operation and critical aspects with respect to operation, or you can say the controls. Okay, and then check whether training is effectively followed or not. See, training effectiveness means I am not telling that training evaluation by questionnaires and all, okay, records and all, okay, that is okay, clear. I am happy with that. Okay, I am not having any problem with that. My point is, training effectiveness means something different with respect to the value added auditing, because I have to evaluate the training if I have to evaluate the training effectiveness during audit. How? Suppose there is a camera check on the machine and there is some revision in the procedure for challenging that camera checks. So whether the people who are working there, they are aware about that revised procedure. Now the point is, if the procedure is revised about 4 months back, please remember what I am telling. If the procedure is revised 4 months back, and same person is operating the machine daily basis. After 4 months, if you are asking that person, my dear friend, how you are performing this challenge test or how you are operating this, and if the person is not able to answer you, or person says, let me check the SOP, that indicates that training is not effective. Person is not aware. My dear friend, person is operating since last 4 months. Same machine, same setting, machine setting is doing and all. So how the challenge test is performed, if the person is not able to answer, then you can evaluate that training is not effective. So training evaluation by questionnaires and all, it is a separate thing. But really the practical training is effective or not, that also you can verify during the your auditing. This is what I always call as a value added auditing, because all companies, if you review the or audit the training, let us take the example. If you audit the training in all the companies, what will happen? They will have the SOP for training, they will have training calendars, they will have approved trainers. The trainers will conduct the training records will be there, questionnaires will be there, everything will be there. So there will be no non-conformance. There may be non-conformance. How? You can check the training effectiveness during auditing. This is the way you have to put a one step ahead. That is why I always use the wordings that you have to see the beyond compliance level. Okay, beyond compliance level. Why it is required? It is required because today they are following, but you are not going to do the audit for a daily basis. You are going to do the audit hardly once in a 3 years or 2 years or 1 year. What about the other days? So that way you have to check the actual system broken down, where the system is getting broken down. Hope you are getting my point with respect to the value added auditing technique. So this is the way you can add the value to your auditing. Second, develop traceable records for the audit. How? Let us take the example. I have reviewed so many self-inspection or internal audit report. What happened? There will be checkpoints. I agree with that checklist. Okay, I am not against that checkpoints. I agree with that checklist. But I am having a 2 points with respect to that checklist, my dear friends. The 2 points are, one point is checklist should not be fixed. Again, I am telling, checklist should not be fixed. Means what? You can have some checkpoints in a checkpoint format. Agree. Below that, you can put a blank content where you can write it down some additional checks. So when the person is auditing the area, other than the checkpoints, what person checked, that person can write it down. And then on the basis of that, you have to again revise or update the checklist. That is what the 1 point I want to tell you here. Second point is what? The checklist is filled, yes, no, that's it. Whether there was a procedure is available, yes. Whether operations were as per the SOP, yes. What is the fun of that? So what you are doing audits? Actually, when you are doing the audits, you have to write a very traceable manner. Whether the operation was done as per the SOP, yes, operation was done as per the SOP number so and so, entitled so and so. Who was the person? Whether the operators were aware about the activities, yes, operator name XYZ 1 2 3 whatever are well aware about the operation. Third thing, what review of the batch under manufacturing. Yes, the online batch was under manufacturing and it is in line with the BMR. Yes, instead of writing yes, you have to write very clearly batch number, product name, which is going, and what is the stage of the product, how much batch is under manufacturing. That all details you have to specify. Or even if you are reviewing the batch record, there itself you can just write it down that during the audit on dated so and so and at the time so and so, the manufacturing was up to this stage, and up to this the critical all operations are checked in the batch record and then found satisfactory. The point is, my point is, no, don't write just a yes no in the checklist. First, I told you that checklist should not be fixed. You should have some blank space and it should be updated time to time. Hope it is clear to all of you. Second point, what I meant to say is, put some traceable things. So what batch number is going on, what product is going on, what you reviewed, what you identify, whether operations are in line with the batch record, whether the batch record there is any documentation errors are there or not. This is the way you have to write it down. Training effectiveness already I discussed with you. Next point, you can add your value in the auditing technique is evaluate the key SOP compliance plan. So basically what happened, when you are doing the internal auditing, what you can do, you can evaluate the SOP compliance plan for some key SOPs. Let us take the example of, you may have some control of cross contamination SOP, or you can have the inspection procedure. Okay, so you can just evaluate the SOP compliance of these SOPs, critical SOPs or key SOPs. How? You can see whether the SOP is complete or need to be updated. Second thing, whether the people are aware about the SOP or need to be trained. Third thing, whether there are some current requirements, regulatory requirements, on that basis whether the SOPs need to be revised or not. That way you have to evaluate the SOP compliance plan for key SOPs. This is the way you can add value in your existing auditing. Hope you are getting my point. See, these are the points I am just making you very, very clear with respect to the traditional way. Because what happened in traditional way, we just check the non-conformance and we just write it down. That's it. Here we have to think one step ahead. Beyond compliance, we have to think. The next fourth point, really it is interesting point. Can you perform Swiss cheese analysis? This is a really interesting point. What is Swiss cheese analysis? If you identify some problem, you can go into depth just to evaluate what is the problem, how this non-conformity happened. Let us take the example. If the person is, suppose let us take the example that the person or the operator is doing wrongly or performing the activities wrongly, then you can check with the operator whether he is trained or not. You will come to know, suppose that he is not trained. Then let us check whether there is a SOP for operation of this activity. You will come to know that there is no SOP also. Then you can just check again one step ahead. In case of this introduction of these new operations or activities, whether the SOP, there is a SOP for revising, need for SOP revision or not. There is a change management procedure or not. You will find that there is no change management requirement to revise this procedure. I am just taking one example. You can just think of that. So that means what? Due to all these aspects, the person is performing the wrong thing. So the observation is not only this, that the person is doing the wrong way. The observation is you have to evaluate the system. You're getting my point, what I meant to say? And accordingly, you have to write it down that the person, first of all, there is a revision in the practices and the procedures due to change, but respective procedure is not revised, change control, impact assessment is not performed in an efficient way. Second, SOP number so and so is not revised because the change control is not revised in a change control is not impact assessment of the change control is not done in an efficient way. And the third, due to non-revision of the SOP, the person who is operating that is not aware, and even there is no formal training to the person. So that way, the Swiss cheese, why this is the example, because this concept is called Swiss cheese basically. because Swiss cheese is having a eyes, or you can say the holes. So if you can put a complete one rod in among all the cheese, and if there is a and if you come to know that rod is able to, you can pass the rod from the all the holes, one hole from all the cubes. That indicates that there is a systemic problem. There is a systemic problem. There is not only the problem you are identifying. Means problem with respect to operator you are identifying. So problem is not only with respect to the operator, but it is a far more than that. This is the way you can use the Swiss cheese analysis while doing the value added auditing. I think we need to extend by 10-15 minutes. So this training we need to extend. So please bear with me. Okay. So this thing I was telling you, you know, if you are auditing the same site again and again, maybe you are doing quality oversight of your contract manufacturer, or you are doing the audits of your company itself, internal audits. So it becomes bore, or it becomes formality. Correct? How you can make a proper way? So I have listed some points. So you can have the checklist already I told, but it should not have not complies or complies. You should write it specifically. Okay. You can record complete details. Next point is follow back to move process or hopping process while doing the auditing same and again. Means suppose normally I used to do the audit from starts from the warehouse, raw material warehouse. Let us take the example. After raw material warehouse, I am auditing the production, and then I am going to quality control. Then I am going to visit the utilities. Correct? This is the way normally I am doing the audit. But sometime what happened? I can follow back to move process. Means how? I will not start audit from raw material stores. If I am auditing the same organization or same company, I will not start from the raw material warehouse. I will start from finished goods warehouse. From finished goods warehouse, I can pick up the batch record of some particular batch. I can select the raw material, and then I can hop. I can go to QC, how it is tested, how it is sampled, where it is stored, how it is dispensed. So that way I will change my auditing strategy. So that way you can have follow back or move process or hopping process. This is the way you can make your normal routine audits in a fruitful way. Hope you are getting my point, right? Review the key documents. When you are auditing the same company again and again, you can review the key documents like quality risk management. Whether the quality risk management is a one time or it is a redefined or re-refining, means revised or not, that you can just verify. So I always tell all the people that whenever you are performing the quality risk management with respect to the cross contamination or all the other aspects, it should be periodically reviewed. So you can just check whether it is periodically reviewed or not. You can check the changes since last inspection. So company will tell you during the introduction that these are the changes since last inspection. Very good. You can verify that all changes with respect to the change control. You can verify all the changes with respect to the impact of that change control. You can verify all these changes with respect to the people we are aware about or not. You can verify all the changes effectively followed or not, because sometimes what happened, we raise a change control but people may not able to follow, or we may raise a change control is impact implemented also but not fully implemented. For example, suppose the company raised the change control for online TOC monitoring. So TOC is online monitored in purified water or WFI system, and the data is stored there. So SOP is there, everything is there, alarms are there, challenges are there, everything is there. But what about the data? How the data backup is done, how the data restoration is done. So that way you have to think of that. Okay, so change is there, but whether the change is implemented fully, that you have to evaluate when you are auditing the same site again and again. Then you will come to know that yes, you are really adding value to your traditional auditing. Hope you are getting my point. Again, I am requesting all the people, please raise your questions. Okay, put your comment section. I will revert back to you. Please evaluate positive effects after last management review meeting. This is very, very, very important. You know, management review meetings, I have seen these are a formality way. You can just check after management review meeting what are the positives. That way you can evaluate how you move for automations, how you can go for automations. Maybe suppose if you can say that if it is a alu pack blister, aluminum and aluminum both the sides, and suppose there is a one camera on the top. So before sealing, you can see whether the tablets are there, all the locations are not. Very good. Is it really required to have the camera on the bottom after sealing? Just put a thought process. Not alu PVC. So what happened in alu PVC? What happened? We have the camera, but after sealing we don't have camera. So after sealing, there may be possibility that due to jerk, tablet may jump and it remain empty. And if you don't want to have manual controls, then can you have some automated control? I'm just thinking, I am just telling some examples. You can extrapolate these examples in your way, I'm just putting a thought. Okay, don't restrict to these examples, please. Okay, auditing is overall broader way, so you can just think in the depth of these examples, please. Hope you are getting my point, what I meant to say. This is the way you can change your routine, day-to-day routine audits, in a more interesting way. Further, this is also very, very important. You have to evaluate the possibility or probability of errors during your auditing. This is not considered in basically traditional auditing. In traditional auditing, we just say black, white, yes, no, compliance, non-conformance. That's it. Here, evaluate what are the possibility of errors. Maybe whenever there are human interventions, identify, evaluate the human interventions. There are the errors possibilities there. Or whether there is a poor organization control, that you have to think of that. Because again, I am telling we have to think beyond the compliance. Please understand what I mean to say. So sometimes what happens, no, the people will think that, oh, my system is validated, so no need to much focus about that, everything is controlled. Due to that also there are a lot of errors happens. So you can just check the whether there is a human interventions, what are the possible ways or probability of errors in these operations, and accordingly you can evaluate the operations. That way you can add value in your auditing. Focus on short-term plan in addition to the long-term plans. See, many times what happened when kappa, I was discussing a slide before, no, one or two slides before, kappa effectiveness and all. So please, my request is please bear with me for 15-20 minutes more, 10-15 minutes more, please. Let me complete this training session. Okay, hope you are getting all the points clearly. So what I was telling, as a kappa, many companies give the short-term kappa, sorry, long-term kappa. Yes, we will give the automation, we will put automatic document control system, we will put laboratory information management system, LIMS, we will put it. But my dear friend, it will take 1 year, 2 years. Meantime, what? Are you going to run this company under non-conformance? So you can evaluate during your auditing. Whatever the kappa is there for regulatory or for your company, whatever, or your last audits, whatever kappas are implemented, whether the kappas are long-term, if long-term are there, what are the interim kappa or what are the short-term kappa? That way you can evaluate. Okay. Limited use of access control. So whether the access controls are there properly used or not. Basically what happened, there are a lot of controls are given by the the software developer or the computerized system manufacturer, but we use only a short of that. We are not completely using the you can say the access control mechanism. So for example, I have seen that, let us take the example about the computerized system where we can have the admins. Now, administrative role, all the privileges for administrative role are common. It is not possible. See, the IT administrator will be there and quality person administrator will be there. Quality person administrator will be only able to access or grant access all, or check some checks, or they can deactivate the access. But IT admin will be responsible for taking the backups, restorations, and all the things. So their roles also should be different. So that way you can make a full use of access functionality. So whether that access functionality is fully used or not, that way you can put your thought process. No historical information regarding user access level, that is also one aspect. Access control applied to the only application software and not the operating system. Means some of the standalone system, it is observed that access control is there to operate the software, but there is no access control to access the desktop or operating system. So what happened? There is a common user ID password, QC123 user login ID to access the computer. Password is 1234. This indicates what? First of all, it is not complying to the regulatory requirement. That is the one thing. But second thing, what happened? This indicates that you are not complying to the password policy. You are having your password policy that nobody should share the password. And here you are sharing the password to all because there is a common password. This is the way you can evaluate the probability errors in the organization during the auditing. Hope you are getting my point, what I mean to say. Okay, it is clear. Now let us touch upon some focusing on data integrity auditing. How you can touch upon? You can just see whether the organization is having electronic data auditing. Again, electronic data auditing, at what extent they are doing. Procedural compliance evaluation, whether the procedure is given, whether it is followed or not. Data governance practices are there that we have to evaluate. Audit trail review. Again, audit trail review means not only review of the functionality of the audit trail available from the system, but audit trail review includes all the other aspects which are not recorded in the computerized systems. That way we have to think of that. Review of one electronic data with respect to the other data, or review of the electronic data with respect to the reported data. That way you can evaluate some data integrity controls in the during your value added auditing. Okay, let us understand about other data integrity controls, which includes review of data based on weakness in the system. So you have to identify which system is a weak. Weak means what? Weak means, like, let us take the example of a standalone system. So there is some weakness in such a system. What is the weakness? Data is not going directly to the server. This is the weakness. So what are the controls? That way you can just see that. Have you performed business continuity plan or a disaster recovery plan? What is the effectiveness of these plans? Whether the deep dive investigations are performed, whether traceability is there, so whether that traceability is right or wrong. Sometimes what happens, there is suppose a complaint of a 100 pack of a bottle of tablet. Okay, some broken tablet or some complaint is there which is packed in a bottle, and when you will see the retention sample, all bottles will be sealed properly. Then how the tablets, control sample or retention samples are checked? So you can review the traceability, whatever is provided by the company. So that way you can just evaluate. You can evaluate the practice, like you can demonstrate or access that you can evaluate when you are doing the auditing. So this is the way you can do the basically the value added auditings. Okay, hope everyone is clear what I meant to say here. Okay, now further some points you have to consider. What? Can you evaluate possible source of contamination? Think of that. can you evaluate possible source of contamination in the value-added auditing? Means how? See, let us take the example. Suppose you are auditing the general facility, maybe general tablet or whatever, API, I don't mind. General, I am not taking the example of hormone and onco and all. Very simple examples. Most of the companies who are manufacturing general products, the gowns or the uniforms or laundry activities done to some contractor laundry services. Now, this contract given to some laundry services, that person may not be only supporting to your company. That person may be doing laundry of the uniforms and clothes for all other companies also. Now let us take the example. If suppose other company who is manufacturing suppose beta-lactam or hormone, so their clothes also will be washed in the same washing machine, and then your clothes also will be washed in the same washing machine. So indirectly your clothes are getting contaminated by some that product traces. So that way you can evaluate possible sources of contamination. You're getting my point. And very important thing, this laundry person is a non-technical person. That is very big risk. So just by putting in the agreement that he should take care of contamination, some companies they put a clause that the laundry person should take care of contamination while laundering services and all. But my dear friend, the person is not aware. This person is a very illiterate person or maybe not technical person. What is the contamination? What is the cross contamination? This person is not aware at all. So you have to put some controls to that person, that laundry services. How you can mention that the laundry person or laundry service provider should share its existing list of customers and their addresses. So you will come to know whether these companies are manufacturing the hormone, beta-lactam or that type of molecules or not. That way you can evaluate. Second point, with respect to the value-added auditing, you can evaluate the benchmarking. Suppose I am doing the self-inspection. I am in a global role and I am doing the internal auditing of 10 sites, different 10 sites. So I can do the benchmarking. Which site is following better way? Which activity other site is not doing in a better way? So that way I can do the benchmarking and I can guide the other sites. Ki, hey, my dear friend, site number 2 is doing better way. So why don't you follow this activity as per this? How the site unit 2 is following? So that way you can share them the ideas, and this benchmarking tool will really help organizations also to improve. Actual practices followed, of course, it is very clear point what I meant to say. Records and data. So we have to evaluate records as well as data. The last point is very, very important. Automation versus manual process. So you have to really focus on what are the processes which are automated and what are the processes which are manual, and whether this manual process are linked to some errors or some non-conformity. That way you can think of that. Hope you are getting my point with respect to the value-added auditing. Hope everyone is clear what I meant to tell you, that auditing is not only just say compliance, non-compliance. Okay, auditing is not only even non-conformity and compliance, or you can say the regulatory requirements and non-regulatory requirements. So basically, auditing is beyond the compliance. That is what the value-added auditing I am focusing. So here only last 3-4 slides are there. So please bear with me. Okay, thank you. Further, refer some citations or observations. For example, OS. So you may be aware that there are the common observations in OS, like the valid OS and invalid OS. So invalid OS are more than 75%, 85%, and valid OS are hardly 10 to 15%. So this way the companies have received the 483 and warning letters. So you can evaluate that type of observations in that company, and you can just see the potential risk or non-conformity with respect to such observations. If similar case is there in your organization, you have to put a lot of focus to reduce the invalid OS. Evaluation of possible intentional or unintentional data modification. This is also a very good point. You need to evaluate while doing the audit that okay, procedures are there, people are following, everybody is working well, no problem, but then you have to put what are the possibilities. See, I am not telling that somebody is doing, I am telling under value added auditing is identify the possible intentional or unintentional, means possibility of data modification or data manipulation, that you can check it. I already told you that internal audit or self audit checklist we have to update. Management review, it should be in a focused way. It should not be a formality. That already I told you. Okay. So this is what I want to tell you here about the putting the thought process with respect to the value added auditing. So these 2 points are the guideline requirements. So guideline is what? Validation alone does not necessarily guarantee that records generated are necessarily adequately protected. So and so it is mentioned in the guideline. You can read this. I don't want to read it. Second point is validation should be supplemented by appropriate administrative and physical controls as well as training and education. These are the requirements. So that means what? If validation is there, that does not mean that everything is under control. We have to put additional controls there. So my point is, whenever there are some computerized system, how many times we are focusing on CGXP computerized system to evaluate whether the appropriate controls are there or not. Let us take the example. Okay, I will not take more time now, please. Let us take the example. Suppose in the standalone system, data is stored in D drive, and from D drive, your IT person is taking the backup in the server. I am happy with that. Second thing, in the D drive, there is no cut, copy, paste, edit, delete option. Very good. Now, cut, copy, paste option is not there. But have you tried to drag the file and put somewhere else? Again, I am telling. Have you select and drag the file and transfer somewhere else? Why I am telling? If you want to transfer the one file from one location to another, so only cut and copy and paste is not enough. If you drag from one folder to another, it will able to transfer from one location to another. And IT might have put the control under D drive where data is stored. IT might have not put a control in other drive. We don't know. So somebody can drag it, transfer to some other folder, and then somebody can delete the file. That will also may possible. I am just giving some example and putting some thought process because time is short. So we cannot take here case study. It is online learning. So this is the way you can put your thought process, that how many audits are there which focuses on control over the CGXP computerized system. This is the way you can ensure a compliance and add your value in your auditing. Hope you are getting with this. Let us have the another example for thought process so that you will understand what I meant to say here. So hope I was telling you, hope you remember about that Swiss cheese model. So here is another one example. Suppose during audit, if you find visible residue on a clean equipment, so you cannot just write it down, oh, there is a dirty, equipment is dirty, that's it. You can see procedure is correct, cleaning procedure is correct or not, whether QMS is correct for revise the procedure or evaluate for the new product. I'm just asking, raising the questions. Now, if new product introduction communication to the QMS person or not, if suppose new product is coming in the facility, whether there is a notification or communication to QMS person or not, who is taking care of QMS activities, training program is adequate, whether person made the error, why the person made the error. And suppose if all the questions are no, that indicates a common problem, a big systemic problem under this. So only a white residue on the clean equipment is not the problem. There is something big problem behind this. That way you can put a light, or you can say the flashlight, on dark area or gray area. And even you can use this point in the management review meeting, present in the management review meeting, so that you can take some better support from the management, and in such a way you can develop your procedures and practices. Hope you got my point. This way you can make your management review also strong, and as well as your traditional auditing into the value added auditing. Hope you got my point, what I meant to tell you here. This is what I want to tell you for the value added auditing techniques basically. And one thing before closing, I just want to tell you that please subscribe this YouTube channel. My target is to cross 10,000. So please hit the subscribe button, like the video, and also you can join the membership program. There are 3 categories: GMP, CGMP, and advanced GMP. Under GMP, you will get some GMP updates and some discount. CGMP also discount is more. And in advanced GMP, or the training programs which are organized by NADH plus GXP compliance services will be the free. All webinars are free, and all the webinars which are arranged by the other agencies where I will be the trainer, that also you will get a very good discount. And third very important benefit about advanced GMP is that you will have the free doubt clearing sessions. What happened? 1 you can have monthly 1 doubt clearing session. So basically this advanced GMP is the required suitable for the people who are in a senior position in companies, or the students who are joining the company but they don't know about some activities and they stuck in the practical problems. So this is helpful for this type of people. Advanced GMP is really helpful. So that way you can think of that about the membership program. And next thing, last but not the least, there are a lot of training sessions under this YouTube channel. Okay, Hitendra Kumar Shah. You can go to the Hitendra Kumar Shah, and you will find that a lot of training sessions are there. You can go through that. It's a free learning. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can put your questions in the comment section. And I have collected all this question now. I will collect all this. I have collected this question, and now you can access all these questions and answer discussion through the another link. Okay, so now I am closing this training because it is already 1 hour 20 minutes, about 20 minutes over. So I am closing this training, and now we will have the separate link for accessing this question answer session. Thank you so much. If who is interested in a question and answer session, they can access me through this link. Okay, thank you so much, and ensure all time compliance. Thank you.